Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to our final swing state analysis for the 2020 elections. And today we're talking about the final Rust Belt state that we haven't covered yet in Wisconsin. And truthfully, Wisconsin is a state that I've said has been getting that is kind of like the Democrats' version of Virginia. It's a state that they had a lockdown on for years, but all of a sudden it's gone red, and a lot of the statewide offices have gone to Republicans. They kind of flipped it back in 2018, showing that they have more competence than the Virginia GOP, but it was still extremely narrow, and even a subpar Senate candidate was marginally competitive. I think it was within 10 points, if I remember correctly. And that was in a Democratic wave year. Of course, Scott Walker only narrowly lost to Tony Evers in the gubernatorial election. And midterms are generally a poor indicator of what's going to happen in a state or even the national environment in the next election, in the next presidential election cycle. But they often say what direction the political environment is moving in some regards. But the fact that Wisconsin was a bit more competitive than it should have been, or I guess would have been expected to be in, is probably something the Democrats should be wary of. Democrats have done fairly well in special elections and even the judicial elections in the state in the Donald Trump years, but I think that's partially because the GOP has been kind of tied to Donald Trump in a lot of ways. And it kind of hurts in some areas that are traditional GOP-based, college-educated whites, for example. Though Wisconsin is not a state with a ton of college-educated people in general, it's maybe more so than, I think, West Virginia and quite a few others, if we're 100% honest. But the largest demographic in Wisconsin is still the non-college educated white voter, which is a group that Donald Trump did extremely well with. And the key for Trump in 2016 is basically holding this map and maybe expanding in this area and some of these and along the Mississippi River, as well as holding in the Milwaukee suburbs, including in this small area, which was Paul Ryan's former seat, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, former Speaker, I guess. And yeah, that's basically the key. Now, of course, Biden is going to want to expand and retake Wisconsin, and that's going to come in the suburbs of Milwaukee. And truthfully speaking, Wisconsin is probably going to be decided by whether or not Donald Trump runs competitive in the Milwaukee suburbs. And it also depends on how much he runs up the margins in the rural areas, in the exurban areas. Places like Wausau, in Green Bay, and I think Oshkosh actually went to Clinton. But those types of places. Winnebago, I guess. If I remember correctly, Winnebago is this county. It's been a while since I've looked at Wisconsin geography. Okay, so I forget some of the county names, but the point is that Biden is going to want to fight in the suburbs of Milwaukee, and Donald Trump is going to be forced to do that and not really lose too much in those suburbs, and fight as hard as he can to expand his margins in the Mississippi area, in the Mississippi River area, as well as run up margins in northern and very rural and exurban Wisconsin, as well as hold, say, Green Bay and a few other places that should be favorable to him. If he can do that, he could and probably should carry Wisconsin. It's probably going to be a very close race all night long. At least if my theory about the polling numbers regressing towards mean is correct, as well as my theory regarding Biden's lack of a correlating bump in his numbers regarding Donald Trump's fall in the polls. If both of my theories there are correct, Wisconsin will be a very closely contested state, and we'll have to see. We will absolutely have to see. That said, it's certainly a state to watch in 2020. And it's one of the more interesting states going forward because it could get very difficult for Democrats to win in Wisconsin because Milwaukee is kind of like Detroit in a lot of regards, in that it's not really growing and its population in proportion to the rest of the state is shrinking, and the rural areas of the state are becoming more and more Republican friendly, just like in Michigan, where Detroit is shrinking, and actually Detroit really is shrinking, especially compared with the rest of the state. And the rest of the state is becoming more and more favorable to Republicans. So these Rust Belt states are going to be very tough ground for the Democrats going forward, and Wisconsin, I think, was the first sign of trouble for Democrats in this area. And I don't think anyone really saw it coming. I don't think anybody should be blamed for not seeing it coming. 2014 and the gubernatorial elections then, as well as the recall elections, I think those were just shocks, but nobody really expected this state to be competitive in 16. So when all of a sudden it happened, I think that woke up the Democrats in this area that they need to figure out how to appeal to the voters that voted Obama twice and then Donald Trump, because it's hard to tell why those voters flipped. And you could say, well, they're swing voters, but all things considered, if you're voting Obama twice, why on earth would you vote for Donald Trump? So there had to be something. And what it was what I saw and what I gathered was that the people who voted for Obama, they had hope. They had hope that Obama would be a force for positive change in the nation. And then they didn't see any real progress in economics. A lot of the manufacturing jobs just never came back. They saw Obama pushing for culturally left-wing, and I hate using that term when talking about cultural things and social issues, but I'll use it because it's the shorthand we come to use in American politics. They saw him doing things that they didn't like, and kind of to quote Obama on this, they cling to their guns and their religion in this area. And you could say that about the South as well, but it's a different sort of thing in the South. And what Obama was trying to say is, while they're open to certain parts of the Democrats' economic and fiscal platform, they really like the Republicans on a number of social issues. And it seems that what they saw in Obama of hope and the possibility for change, they saw in Donald Trump too. Because Donald Trump portrayed himself as a strong man who was the only one who could fix years and years and years of Washington insider culture. And whether or not that's happened, I think that's for posterity to decide. But what is for certain is that, at least in terms of what we expect from a president, Donald Trump has certainly changed that. So we'll see if the voters still believe Donald Trump is a source of hope and inspiration, and someone who they feel can bring manufacturing jobs back. Whether or not that happens, we'll see. I don't think it will, regardless of who's president. But what matters is not some guy on his computer posting videos on YouTube on the issue. It's what the voters actually feel and what the voters think about the issues. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Likes, comments, subscriptions, they always do help, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of them. And I hope you have a very nice evening and great rest of the week. Take it easy. Bye-bye.